It's like a robot, kind of mixed with a bit of sci-fi, so it's no good.
I can't take my eyes off.
Taking advantage of that prejudice, I want to recreate niche cultures myself. Who have no particular intention, I'm being used as material, and in that context, I end up reenacting stereotypes. This kind of interactive experience is what I want to create first. I also want to make it the decisive winner-takes-all moment.
This time, our featured artist is Emi Kusano. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
By the way, this time our regular navigator, Ai-chan, is taking a break. So producer Ku will be filling in as navigator today.
Now, our guest today, Kusano-san, participated as a member of the Meet Art Executive Committee, and Moriyama-san also served as a reviewer. Both are artists who were selected for the Excellence Award at the Current Art Award. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm really looking forward to it. First, I'd like us to take a look at the artworks.
This is a work called Morphing Memory of Neural Pet. It's a piece where you observe the transformation of an imaginary street fashion history. The very first part starts with the Momomoga of Ginza from the 1940s and 1950s.
What were Mobo and Moga again?
Modern boy, modern girl, modern boy.
And modern girl.
Yes, that's right. Mobo and Moga refer to men and women who adopted a bit of that stylish westernized fashion. This was kind of like Modomo and Garobo with a bit of a robot-like vibe, mixing in some sci-fi elements. Then, moving into the 1970s, there were people called the Futen Zoku, sort of the Japanese version of hippies, especially around Shinjuku, where there were a lot of them. The Futen Zoku and the special effects inspired values of that era.
Those elements appear like we saw.
Monsters appear. And from here, moving into the 1980s, to the Takenoko Zoku.
Right.
That's precisely what we've created, is truly turning into the Takenoko Zoku phenomenon.
We're using AI, and as it learns, we're morphing it more and more. And over time...
Well, originally there was a photographic work that served as the predecessor to this, and I created this as its evolved form. Large language models, AI large language models started to appear around 2021 or 2022. And since then, every day, I was creating and sharing fictional street snaps. At that time, well, things like the Takenoko Zoku and other cultures I haven't personally experienced since I was born in 1990 really fascinated me. It was an era before the internet became widespread, when mass media had a very strong influence and local street cultures were emerging. I've always admired that time.
No good. I can't take my eyes.
This is also a member of the crow family. Yes, it's a crow. But I really want you to take your time and watch it closely. It changes every single second, you know. And things I can't predict at all just keep appearing like this. And the camera work here is also pretty interesting.
This camera work and everything, how should I put it? It's like AI.
As for the camera work, I actually programmed it myself together with the engineer. Well, originally I created a data set from over 1 million images I generated for each era. And I used that data to generate the flow of the camera work like this. Also, I mixed in a little bit of my own face, so sometimes people who look like me appear, but, well, just now.
I feel like I just said that.
Thank you very much. From there, it transitions into things like Dekorachan and Gyaru.
Up to what decade does this go?
Up to the 2000s, yes. Up to the 2000s. But honestly, there are parts that are completely different from the Takenoko Zoku or Karasu Zoku that we know. And of course, there are also some similarities. I find it interesting how there's this slight disconnect.
Originally, my career started as a street snap photographer, you could say.
That's right. Back when I was in high school, I used to take street snaps in Harajuku. That was around 2008, and at that time there were still some gals left well, not just gals but also manba gals. They were a bit worn out, and honestly I think it was like a dying community on the verge of disappearing. There were also namba gals and people into gothic Lolita fashion. Also, there was a bit of a revival of decora style hanging on, but around 2009 things started to change. Everyone began wearing H&M, or Uniqlo and Zara became mainstream, and those unique fashion tribes gradually disappeared. Even on the streets, Nomko, that simple, understated style became the trend. Trends and cycles moved so fast, it became hard to keep up. That was when I worked as a street snap photographer. I still admire the previous era, you know? I wonder what it was like when there were real fashion leaders. In elementary school or even kindergarten, I barely caught the tail end of the Amora boom.
Some, but yeah.
After that, there really weren't any overwhelmingly influential fashion leaders anymore. Trends only caught on domestically. There just weren't any big trends anymore. First of all, people's attachment to those kinds of things was really
Strong.
and significant. So when I first tried AI, what I really wanted to see was to time slip back to the past and take street snaps. But even if you search for Takenoko-zoku, bamboo shoot tribe, nothing comes up.
I see.
Yes, that's right. With large language models,
Western.
information is what it's biased toward. So if you search for words like glam rock or disco, you get results. But when it comes to something uniquely Japanese, like the Takenoko-zoku that was popular for just a few years in the late 1970s to early 1980s, even if you search for Takenoko-zoku, there really aren't that many images that come up. They just don't come up, you know. So in that situation, they use overseas trends and words. Yeah, for example, young people wearing satin kimono-like onesies with glam rock style hair and makeup. So it's like they're prompting and constructing things that way. That kind of assembly is actually pretty interesting. And in a sense, AI reflects human biases. Since it's accumulation of those biases, I started to deliberately use those biases to try to recreate niche cultures myself. And I really got into it. From there, I created a lot of street fabs. This work is about trying to morph those creations.
Also, there are works that deal with the biases that AI has. So let's take a look at those as well.
Yes, this is a photographic work called Office Ladies that I presented in March when I had a solo exhibition in Paris. I mainly create works using photography and video with AI. And for this piece, I trained the AI on my own face and body. Yes. Well, in a somewhat retro office space, there are versions of myself processing a lot of information. The initial idea came from AI agents, basically. AI that can do things like make reservations at stores on your behalf. Even now with ChatGPT, it can write emails and such for you, but it's said that in the next 4, 5, or maybe 10 years, AI capable of actually carrying out tasks will likely become widespread. Well, when I heard about the idea of AI agents, I imagined having a kind of duplicate of myself that could handle paperwork for tasks I'm really not good at. But at the same time, I also pictured these imagined secretaries or office ladies doing that work. And you know, it's really stereotypical, but I also imagine women in miniskirts. Even the default voice for things like ChatGPT tends to be that of a calm female announcer, which is something I've noticed.
So AI ends up outputting things like that too.
That's right. For me too, when I think of secretaries or AI accountants, well, accountants in general, when you think of people working in those kinds of jobs, this is the kind of thing that happens. And so it ends up like this. The fact that these things are being mass produced is kind of interesting, but also a little scary, I think. With the emergence of AI agents, I believe there will be AIs that can do a lot of your work for you. But at the same time, AI tends to, well, ruminate on, or rather, repeatedly reproduce human biases.
Even as an entity, it's because they're simply learning the kinds of inherent biases that we all possess and hold, and then those biases are outputted just exactly as they are without any alteration or modification.
That's right. I think of it as something like a mirror of humanity. It's a bit different from a self-portrait though. It resembles me, but each one is a little different. As variables, things like the woman's age or her clothing, those kinds of things I tweak little by little in the prompts. But, well, how should I put it? It's like a version of myself without will, being used as material. I'm using that to attempt a reenactment of stereotypes. Yeah.
Was there something specific that truly made you start focusing your attention on those kinds of important things, like the inherent biases or the significant unevenness that artificial intelligence currently has when you initially began creating your artistic works?
Yes, there was a trigger. It was when I created NeuroFat, which was the predecessor to the Morphing Man memory I showed earlier. At that time, I realized that the world I wanted to see was the history of fashion among the Takenoko-zoku, Futen-zoku, and Karasu-zoku subcultures. But when it comes to cultures that are well known globally, like in America, those show up in high detail. However, more niche things like the Takenoko-zoku or Futen-zoku hardly ever appear. I really felt that this is because the majority and minority opinions are what shape what comes out. And then, for example, when you enter a prompt, like for a woman, even if you enter a prompt like a man in a suit wearing an apron, for some reason the woman ends up wearing the apron and the man ends up in the suit. That's because in the data, there are a lot of associations between suits and men and aprons and women. So the model tends to make those connections and generate the output accordingly. I think it's really important to use AI to express histories that haven't been talked about much. In fact, I've started to feel that it would be interesting to hack those biases and incorporate them into my work.
Also, like we mentioned earlier, the fact that there are so many of those office ladies and that each of their faces is a little different. I think that's interesting in its own way, as a way of thinking. In the end, I feel like my own face actually changes depending on the person I'm interacting with. Or rather, it's as if my face is perceived based on that person's impression of me. For some people, I might look really unattractive, while for others, I might seem very beautiful. So when you have all this information coming at you, the way a face looks a little different depending on the perspective feels pretty real to me. Thank you. On the other hand, when I think about it, maybe that's actually what's real. But just now, there was that thing where the man was wearing an apron and the woman wasa. What did she say again? The woman.
The woman wearing a suit.
And when men are truly invested in that, unless AI itself is guided in that direction, or rather, unless collective intelligence as a whole can move in that direction, I think there will always be a limit to how far it can go. So the more we put that input in, is it correct to think that for AI, that itself becomes a kind of learning process?
That's absolutely right. And honestly, since I personally do not possess a technical background myself, I am not extremely knowledgeable about the intricate algorithms, but I do genuinely think that significant improvements are probably continuously being made. For example, with Midjourney 2 years ago, Asian faces weren't as diverse compared to white people, and it was really hard to generate images of black people. There were all sorts of issues like that. But I think little by little, as people give feedback, things are changing. Yes, that's right. I do think there are still various problems, especially with generative AI going forward. Especially when it comes to advertising. I wonder what will happen to beauty standards, for example. It's something I do think about. But sometimes when I look back at the past, even with this office lady, after all, when I talked to my mother about female office workers in Japan, she told me that it was normal for women to leave their jobs when they got married. In fact, some women in their late 20s who weren't married would even take early retirement. Their main job was serving tea, and only women had to wear uniforms. That's where I got the inspiration from after hearing about those things. And well, I wanted to acknowledge that this happened and also to make sure it doesn't happen again. We have to make sure of that because people have their own biases. In a way, I hope that by having AI reflect these things, it can get people to think about them.
Including both the good and the bad, people living in different regions with their own mentalities and social structures live their lives in their own ways. Through AI like this, we can see, for example, how Asia is viewed by so-called white people, or how we see things from our own perspective. The awareness of what it means to be European has become quite complex. It's like, this is just how things are. When those kinds of stereotypes are truly broken down, it makes us question the very foundations of our society and the nature of our land. So, in a way, AI could end up shattering those things. And honestly, I don't know what would happen if that were to occur. It feels like our identities might just get all mixed up, all jumbled, you know? That's what I think.
It's difficult, isn't it? It's really tough.
It's not something you can just sum up easily, though.
That's absolutely right. But as for what's actually happening right now, there's just an incredibly vast amount of information being generated every single day. Is it because of the sheer volume? Images are being generated in massive quantities. Content is being generated. And then it's being distributed on various platforms like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and so on. Everyone is getting addicted to it. So I think it's becoming harder to understand what's actually happening in the world. Compared to 2 or 3 years ago, if you don't consciously pay attention and watch the news, you just won't get that information anymore.
And there's so much information out there, so the person picking it out needs knowledge and discernment.
That's true.
But that's actually really difficult.
So when I think about it, maybe the nostalgia we're sharing right now, I sometimes wonder if we might be the last generation to really feel that way. Right now, as a kind of shared understanding, we have this aesthetic from the 80s and 90s, but in 10 or 20 years, everyone might be living in completely different filter bubbles. And those filter bubbles will be increasingly customized. People might not even search for things anymore, just interacting with their own set of 11 chat GPTs or AI agents. If we end up in a world where all we do is interact with them, we'll be living inside a big shell. And I wonder what will happen to art in such a time. As for what I want to express, well, I do recreate retro styles, but I think I really need to consider whether or not that sense of the era is actually present in my work.
Yeah, exactly. That word nostalgia you just mentioned really made me think of alcohol right now. I feel like there's probably some kind of connection there, like relationships or the attachment to a certain place. Because of that, we look back on the past and attach a sense of longing to it, and that it might be lost, you know?
Yeah, that's right. It's something we all have in common. We might lose the things we share. Yeah. And maybe as time goes by, everyone finds it harder to remember proper nouns and such than before. That's true for young people too. Yeah. It's just that the absolute amount of information is
So much.
that's right. And as things go on like this, those conversations like, hey, remember when that was popular back then?
They hardly even happen anymore, do they?
No, not anymore. That's really, really quite true indeed.
So, considering that, and also the works you've introduced so far, well, watching you, Kusano-san, I really felt that you take references from various eras and with your own unique perspective, create new interpretations or definitions and express them in your work.
Thanks. As for soap,
The so-called retro boom or Showa boom might also be one of the reasons for that.
yeah, that's right. Making things hyper realistic with AI, even more so than reality itself, is definitely happening. And these are memories that include my own input and perspective. So they're different from the truth. And depending on the data set, sometimes what comes out is a version of the Takenoko-zoku that's quite different from the real Takenoko-zoku. So because of that, it's a bit biased. I think it would be great if I could show what reality is actually like through my art.
Thank you very much. There's so many things I'd like to ask you, but as I mentioned at the beginning, this time Mr. Kusano has been selected for the Currents Award of Excellence. So first of all, I'd like to ask what prompted you to apply, and also from an artist perspective, if there was anything in particular you noticed about the characteristics of this award.
Thank you very much. The word currents is in the name of the award, and it's about creating new trends in contemporary art. So for me, that's something I'm not a painter, and I didn't go to an American university either. I used to present my work mostly in digital spaces. Most of my pieces are digital art in other words, they're traded as NFTs. Exhibitions usually involve displaying videos or showing digital art on screens. So for better or worse, my work often stayed within that realm. It's not a bad thing, and thanks to that, I was able to exhibit my work in various places around the world. But still, deep down inside, I wanted to try creating more physical works. Also, although I had made a few installations in the past, since I made up my mind to fully commit to being an artist, I haven't really managed to create anything substantial yet. So once again, just a bit, I was thinking that I wanted to break out from two-dimensional works, and I was looking for a good opportunity to do that. I knew I probably couldn't win any of the mainstream awards, but since this was about creating a new trend, I thought maybe I could stand a chance here.
Just as you predicted, I'm really, really happy, truly. The idea of creating a new trend, and also Kusano-san, next year you'll be holding a solo exhibition as the runner-up. Earlier, you mentioned something about making it more physical, so could you share a bit about your concept or ideas for that?
Right.
Yes.
I'd like to try creating something interactive, something like if I just keep going as I am, continuing to present works like the one earlier, like the Office Ladies Piso, works like Neural Heart, I thought it might be nice to be active in the world of contemporary photography or the photography scene. But, doing just that. I want to take it further to the point where the audience can experience it, give feedback, and that feedback is used to generate something new. Basically, I want to create something interactive first and foremost. I want it to be a decisive, impactful piece.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you have any solo exhibitions or shows coming up soon?
Yes, I have a solo exhibition in October. It's going to be in New York.
You're busy.
Yes, I'm busy. I do get opportunities to exhibit my work, but yes, since there's a lot of digital art next year in Kyoto, well, a little focus on actually making things. I want to do my best. I'm looking forward to a bit of a new challenge.
Thank you very much. I'm also looking forward to the role.
I'm really looking forward to it. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for today. Thank you so much. And with that, today's guest was Emi Kusano. Thank you very much.